Okay, cool. Do we have everyone here? I think so. We can start. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining us in the conference here. We are really happy to have you. As you know, you are the map expert, so we would like to learn something from you about the map, of course. And welcome everyone here. So to talk you a bit about the conference, this is the Data and Computational Journalism Conference in Indonesia 2022, which is the first leading data journalism conference which delivers best practices of data journalism, explores new emerging technologies, showcases stories, and exchanges knowledge between experts from the US. We had Alberto Cairo and Peter Aldous from the BuzzFeed as well this morning. And also we have experts from Indonesia, Australia, Sweden, and England. And Lucia is here with us, and Nepal, and many more. And this conference is fully funded by the United States Embassy in Jakarta, Indonesia. And to begin with, this workshop session will provide an introduction to use geospatial data in news, especially in the BBC. We will learn basic principles in working with geospatial data or maps, including some introductions to map and satellite imageries and how the visualization, how do the map look like when we put that in a story. And also in the end of the session, Anna will be giving us a live demo, like a brief tutorial and finding satellite images, and also maybe Anna can share her works in the BBC with map visualizations. Okay, yep, now time is yours, Anna, please. Thank you so much.
Sorry, let me unmute. Okay, so bear with me as I toggle with many screens. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Okay, so let me change the view. There. Okay. So first, let me just introduce myself. My name is Ana Lucia Gonzalez. I'm Colombian, but I've been living in the UK for 20 years. I work as a visual journalist for BBC News. I worked for 4 years with the central team, which deals with the 40 languages that comprise the BBC World Service. But currently I'm working with BBC Mundo in Spanish and BBC Brazil in Portuguese. I guess most of you are what I am, which is like we say in Colombia, we call it a todero, which is like the translation would be like an everythinger or a jack of all trades, because you know how journalism evolves. I started in radio, and then I went online, and then handle things like, I don't know, blogs and things that sound like a thing of the 90s now. And currently, I really enjoy being a visual journalist because it means you keep learning all trades and you keep working in multidisciplinary teams with developers and designers. All this preamble is just to say that this is not meant to be like, I'm not an expert in satellite imagery, I'm not a cartographer, but like you, I've used these years to learn where to get maps, how to interpret them, how to use them in news. So that you can have like a Swiss knife tools for whenever you need maps or you need to visualize news for people. Okay. This is, so why do we use maps, right? This is a map that my dad made back in Colombia because I've been living 20 years here. They moved to the countryside, and then he made me this map to visualize how to get to their place. And this I really cherish because if you see, this map is just like a symbol, and it just uses this. It's not showing, the road as it is, etc. It's just like a straight line in which you pass all these towns, and then you go through a roundabout, and then you go to, you take a wrong turn, then you should go here. And I love, because my father knows me very well, it included all the wrong turns. So if you are seeing these, you shouldn't go there. Currently, in the last 10 years, there's so much, satellite imagery available that I wouldn't use this map, right? I would use this. I mean, not exactly this, but this is the same map as it looks on Google Earth, and it's the same. You see the roundabout here. It actually becomes, this roundabout here, and you can see all the turns that you can make until you reach my parents' home. And it's kind of the same in use, right? We currently have all these new satellites available. It has gone from, the NASA big satellites like Landsat 8 and the European Space Agency Sentinel-2 to these tiny satellites that companies like Planet Labs and Digital Global, now known as Maxar, use, that give you very, very detailed information from the ground. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is going from what you can see from like very, very up above, like zoom out, to zoom in, and how you can use them in use, and then mix it with like mapping, like more like GIS and boundaries and things. So I'm going to end with this, which I love doing, which was a combination of all these. It's a combination of satellite imagery, combination of information on the ground from that showed damaged buildings from the volcano eruption in Palma. So yeah, so let's proceed with this. So again, I'm not going to give you a course about satellite imagery, what it shows, but I think one important thing is spatial resolution. So as I was saying, you have these satellites in this range that show you like the view from above, like geostationary satellites and satellites like Aqua and Landsat and Sentinel, that show you this resolution is meters by pixel. So this has a resolution of 250 meters per pixel, and then it goes all the way to this resolution. So this is the same image as seen by a different view of satellites. And so you can see the difference here, right? So this is from, I think this is MODIS and this is Sentinel-2, and you can see the difference. Then there's the temporal resolution, because satellites, they circle around the Earth and they take images. And this is very important when you're looking for them, that you kind of see that some take images every 5 days, some take daily images. So bear in mind, because it's one thing showing a non-temporary, like temporary sensitive image, and then whether you're looking for a particular event that happened in a certain day. So it might be that you can find it because that satellite wasn't quite placed there when you needed it to be, if that makes sense. So this shows exactly, so different bands, taken by different satellites. So you can see the availability. This again is MODIS, and then this is Sentinel-2. So first, again, zoomed out, right? So this shows, hold on. This is an image from 2017 that shows, I think it was Irma. Sorry, I needed to know. So this shows hurricanes, right, on their way to Puerto Rico. And this is when we were showing this 2017, when we had this terrible summer when we had a lot of hurricanes going on the same direction. And then this is a satellite image that we used to use like this smoke coming from wildfires. And this was used using this wonderful site from NASA called Worldview, which, you can toggle between timelines. You can toggle between, what you want to display, what satellite you want to display. They've got very good guides as well. So you could, my internet connection holds. It shows you all that is available and how it's used and the temporal resolution, etc. So here. So you can see things like wildfires, clouds. They've now introduced, which is incredible, Landsat and Sentinel-2. I'll get to this later. So this is a very quick and easy to use tool. There you can see this is Hurricane Dorian, for example. And then if you can just, if you do this, then you can take snapshots, and then you can just downloaded. What I would say, and this you'll hear out through the whole presentation, is be very careful, because sometimes satellite images show things that we think are one thing and they're really not. So I think usually just, maybe ask an expert or see around, what NASA or what the European Space Agency are saying about these images, because sometimes you think, oh, this is smoke, definitely, and it could be a cloud, so definitely don't just use an image and say, this is obviously something, or this is a meteorological phenomenon. Then I'll go to, this. Another very cool thing is night lights that you can also get from NASA. These we used many years ago. Maria hit Puerto Rico. You could see by just analyzing one layer they show, which is night lights, you could see how electricity just went. This is Vieques, which is, if you see, it's not around. So you could see the island here and how it just disappeared completely because they had no electricity for weeks. And I've known they use this for North Korea as well, just to show whether the claims that they have electricity coverage are true or not. So there are many uses for this. Then this is also, you remember the volcano eruption in Tonga. Let me go again. So this, again, this is just a very quick video that we did for BBC Mundo, just for social media. And this was done, don't worry about links, I'm going to share a document where I show all this. This is this tool from NOAA in the US. And it just takes, it just shows you the latest that you can see from their geostationary satellites. And you can change, it from the NASA goes 16, NASA. And for you, I think the most relevant one is this one, Hinawari. And as you can see, it shows you what is going, it's now stopped because of internet, I guess. Let me, there. It's just like a snapshot of what's going on. And then obviously you can change the dates and you can change the layers. And with this, we could take just like one of the first satellite images of the Tonga eruption, and you can see, again, what this shows you is the magnitude. And then I would say, again, because of cartography, then you could add, we did this very quickly, but maybe if you added some borders, for example, it would give you an example of the magnitude of the event. Then again, this is also like, I'm going for the wow, cool factor, but you can see lightning, for example. There's this other site that keeps videos of every single instance of, there's one of the satellites carries this instrument that can measure lightning. And this is, I think it was the beginning of this year that they revealed the longest and the most intense lightning episodes. And this is the longest in the US. So, sorry. So you can see here, right? So, and how it just traverses the US. And then again, is available here. And it's just incredible. I mean, you have to look a bit, but then they have all these stored here. Then something that is more relevant to you, and I'm sure that a lot of you are experts on this, which is forest loss and forest coverage. Again, the team I worked, I said doing this. The team I work in did this for a special they did of the Amazon forest, and they used this data from Global Forest Watch just to show the loss of forests between 2001 and 2019. Again, all the caveats. When my team did this, they actually got in touch with Global Forest Watch because they wanted to know what the map actually showed and what forest loss meant, and because they use like measures like forest gain and forest loss. So they use this, and then again, I'll put the link so that you can read it through. they put it in context just by saying what forest loss means and whether it regenerates. And when they say it regenerates, actually you're losing a lot because you're losing the species that go with that go in the forest. So these you can get from Global Forest Watch, which is incredible. You know, they have this interactive map. Again, this is the area that is relevant to you, and they have tree cover gain, tree cover loss. They also have other indicators like land use, all these, biodiversity, climate. I think they also have a layer that's that includes forest fires and forest warnings and for danger of forest fires. And then again, this you can download, and again, I'm sure you, and then they have analysis. Again, you can draw a shape and they will tell you about the forest loss in charts. Mia, who's moderating this debate, is the expert on this actually, because she's run several stories on using this data. And again, my caveat that everything you do about forest loss, please do get people on the ground, right? That can show you exactly what is going on ground and what things mean. So this is as zoomed out as I can get. Now I'm going to get with something we cover a lot in the World Service regions, which is natural disasters, sadly, and how you can look at it from different angles. So first is floods. And I don't know your experience, but mine is that whenever there is a flood, you always get an editor saying, oh, you know, could you show us a satellite image of floods and you know, the damage. And then obviously, when there's floods, there's usually lots of cloud cover, which means you can't actually see anything at the moment it is happening. So we got this we go through this cycle every time there are floods, is that we cannot really get things on the ground, but you can see floods from different angles, right? So this is, first you look at rainfall. We've had this, you know, in the late years, in the last 2 years, we've had all these rainfall extreme events where it just rains in a very limited time. And I don't know if you remember, it was last year that we had this like extreme event in China, in the Henan province, in which in a very limited time you had rainfall of, you know, this map shows, right? This was more, I think it was like 600, 700 millimeters in just a few hours. So we started making these rainfall maps as ways to show extreme events. I show you 2 examples. And this was done by using, again, data available here from the National Weather Service in the US, in which you have predictions, but you also have, you have these predictions and you have accumulated precipitation, which you can see again. These are the maps, and again, in this glorious world, this is all available here to download. You can, I use my Finder, but you can also use an FTP server, and you can just download. And what we did at the BBC is we then kind of adapted it, put it in QGIS, which I'll show you later. You have all these files here. And then we just adapted it to our style and adapted it to our borders. And then we kind of made a template so that journalists in the different regions could just take it, you know, there's a very detailed guide and say, this is this, this is this, this is showing this, you know, please don't go for the 7-day, please, you know, please use this key, please use this scale. And then they can do these quick, you know, maps. Another way to look at floods is this is a tool actually that was found by one of my colleagues in Delhi, Google Earth Engine, which I won't get through, but which is this wonderful resource that Google put online, which is this there. So there's data, and then people can actually, scientists can then use all this data from satellites and make like ready-made apps. So this tool, for example, shows inundation. And obviously, sorry, my connection has gone a bit weird. But then you can see permanent open water, high confidence flood again. So you can use this to more confidently map floods. Again, you would need to explain all these this key and all these indicators so that people know exactly what they're looking at and what permanent open water means, for example. So that's another way you can look at floods.
Sorry, I need to interrupt. Are
Yes.
you going to show a demo of some of your works? Because I think we only have 30 minutes.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, yeah, I'll go through this. But then we've got, you know, there's wildfires you can show as well. There's this very good resource that is first hotspots that you can show all the hotspots. And then there, again, I would say just be very careful because hotspots are, hotspots can be anything, you know, from people burning because of agriculture, or it could be flares. So be careful. And I'll move on, as Nia suggested, just an example of how we at the BBC use like very different layers to show the aftermath of a natural disaster. So I'll just show you this very quickly. So this again happened last year, and it's a guide we made to the eruption in Palma. So we made this 3D image. We showed the lava flow, and then we made, we used aerial images, but then we also used this just to show, how the lava, you have this from Google Earth and Maxa. So for Maxa was showing how the lava flew to the sea. And then we were showing a map of the destroyed buildings. So I'm just going to show you quickly. And then we also had this information from the Spanish National Geographic Institute, which showed that the seismic activity was very high just before the eruption. So we mapped this not as a map, because not everything is mapped, but as a chart. So I'm going to show you this, right? So this is QGIS, which again, if you're not familiar with it, I love it because first it's open source, it's really available. And then it just allows you to add layer after layer so that maps can be understood, so that you don't use the satellite imagery as such. So we started with this shape of Palma, the island, that we got from the Spanish government. Household is what this is called. This is called a shapefile, which is just what we call a polygon, so that it shows borders. This is just like coordinates joined to each other so that it draws a map. Then we had maps on places, in case we wanted to show like the key places that were affected by. This is the eruption point. This is the volcano where the volcano erupted, but this is all the places. Then because we have an agreement with Planet Map, which I'll show you later, then we had the satellite imagery, but you can also get Google Satellite if you wanted, just to show you some, because if you see, you can start seeing some elevation. And more importantly, there is this, so Copernicus, the European Space Agency, puts together these rapid mapping activations, which means whenever you can see the current ones, whenever there's a natural disaster, they start plotting together for emergency service or for disaster relief. They start plotting by satellite. They start plotting damage. They start plotting, they have all the satellite imagery. So we started downloading these, which is the, first they did map the lava flow. So you had, this is the lava flow here. And then you had ashfall, in case that was relevant. And then you had the buildings. So this is how we mapped the map you saw in the story. So you had damaged buildings and they had it as coordinates. And then again, the key was whether it was destroyed or possibly damaged. So we had all this information available. And then we, again, just to show the impact and make it comprehensible, what we decided is to go for a 3D image. And I'll just show you very quickly. I don't know in the time, how we did this. We downloaded elevation data, which is just this, which just shows you, it just shows the elevation on each point, and this is what is called a raster file. And then we decided to put it all together here. Sorry, I'll do this. So we just wanted to show the lava flow. And then, sorry, I'm hoping my connection helps here. But what we did is the 3D view kind of allows you to rotate and do this. And then we decided to rotate it just because then it would show the lava flowing down to sea. So I was relying on my internet connection to be better, but, and then we just added the elevation here. Ugh, I might be risking it. So I'll just leave it at a low resolution just so that it works. So that you could see this. I might go back to this when it actually renders. Let me just do. See. So yeah, so you can see, because what we wanted to show is, the elevation and how there was a mound here. So you can see here, again, you cannot see in the presentation, but you can see here that there's a mound, and this is why the lava just goes, kind of surrounds the mound and how it ends up in the sea. So this is one way that you can build your map by using different shapes, different layers of information, and you can decide which one is relevant and which is not. There. So this is one thing that I was going to show. There. So the other thing that I was going to show is how to use high resolution satellite images. So Sentinel-2, Landsat-8 have more high resolution images, and this is a very silly example, but I'll start with the personal. So I'm currently staying at a flat that is in the in the coast in the UK, and this is my view right now. I can see all these ships here, but when I went to EOS, so there's this site called EO browser that you can get all these Sentinel images. I was wondering whether you could see, and then you can actually see. So this boat that I can see here, from my window, you can actually see live here, right? So you can see all these boats here. So obviously this has more, better uses than the personal. So examples of this, and then again, because I work with all the languages, I'll show you examples of all that has been done around the world. So we have an agreement at the BBC with a satellite company called Planet Labs. They charge for services, but they don't charge media if you request things. So you can reach an agreement, depending on where you work, you can reach an agreement with them, or you can request you can request a specific imagery from them. So one, for example, that I always find fascinating is a mixture of people on the ground that know what they're looking for, and then satellite imagery. So this is pig farming. So this was a journalist that was investigating the story about illegal pig farming, because this, there were lots of complaints because of the environmental impact. So we worked together, and then we were looking at Planet Labs, and he would give me the coordinates, and he would say, you are looking for these spots, these like black spots. This is where pig farming occurs. And then, we use this it's kind of to complement his investigation on the ground. Another example of how this was used, gold mining, which is also, rampant around the world. And this, again, because the journalists working in BBC Brazil had this environmental agency that said, look at these specific coordinates, and what you're looking at is this, this deterioration, these white spots around rivers. This means that gold is being mined in the river, even though they claim it's not. And it's the same in Russia. They were showing gold mining. And then again, this is how satellite imagery can complement your investigative journalism. BBC Persian in Iran, because again, different subjects for different areas of the world. What they wanted to show is there's lately been these explosions in nuclear facilities, and then the government usually says that nothing has happened. So they reached Maxar and Planet Labs and went, can you show us imagery from this particular date and then compare it to this particular date, and then you can plot the damage here. You can see here on the left, so that they again complement the reporting on the news story. This is from the BBC. If you remember, this is from the Uyghurs camps. Well, they call training sites, but then again, they used this imagery to show that these camps were being built. Again, I can show you more examples about Myanmar, for example. And then, yes, so this is how we use things in investigative reporting. Lately, I think the latest example is this about how Ukrainian grain is being taken from Russia. Russia is taking, or the claim is that they're stealing grain from Ukraine and then transporting it elsewhere. So they work very close with Planet and Maxar to show things like routes. For example, so they show the grain storage site, and then you go to the silos, and then you show trucks. So this is more on the intelligence on the ground and OSINT investigation and how satellite imagery can help you. Just last to say is just tips. I mean, I sound silly, but tips is satellite imagery and mapping. It's not only there to complement your stories. It is also there to look for stories. So like NASA and European Space Agency, usually they have their own blogs where they publish, interesting things they find in their satellite imagery. So I like just looking at this because then it also, like this one, for example, this we are actually covering BBC Mundo, and we're going to make a story. And then again, we're using these satellite imageries, but we're also sending our reporter there to cover how this is affecting the people that live there. Follow people for inspiration. Like I'm a big fan of Tim Wallace, who now works as the New York Times like a lead cartographer. And then people usually reveal how they do things and how they make things. So this, for example, I don't know if you remember, there's this wonderful story here about how autumn colors change in the US. And then in this thread, he just details exactly what he did and how he analyzed satellite imagery, and then he shows particular places. So this is a very good way to learn, I mean, about stories that you can cover, so that is not the usual natural disasters and that can show trends, but also how to make them. Again, usually just talk to experts, because what you think you're seeing might not be what you see. Both NASA and the European Space Agency also, if there are files that you think, can you show with smoke, they will actually show you which files you need and how to download them and how to use them. So again, we're all journalists, so just do the groundwork and talk to people. And then I was going to show you this. What I usually do is in my spare time, I just, play with maps you like, play with things, play with areas you like. So when I was trying to learn about like elevation data, for example, I just tried mapping South America, because South America, we have the Cordillera de los Andes, and I was just trying to see how it looks in different formats. So again, this looks like a silly game, but that actually prepared me for when the Palma volcano eruption happened. I knew how to use elevation data right at the very spot, so that you don't spend a day trying to figure out what the files do. And then there's a tutorial for everything. Everything is online. People are very generous with their knowledge. So QGIS, for example, there's this very good, it's in my sheet, but you can look at QGIS tutorials and tips online. How you can figure out Landsat 8 images and make and download them using Nubian color. So all these, you can look online and just be prepared for whatever news throw at you, but then also look for inspiration from maps. So Nia, I don't know, I think Nia, you also wanted to show you how we work with the BBC shapefile, right?
Are you going to share your works, like how to create a map using QGIS, not the 3D map? I know you've shown that, maybe the other maps. Like how
Sure.
would you exactly look for satellite images?
Yes, so I can show you. Hold on. So for
Anna,
example,
sorry.
yes.
I was just been told that we have extra time because this is the last session of the day. So
Okay.
feel free to share your works. But maybe in 10 minutes, I will give you 10 minutes extra, and then we can have question and answer sessions.
Question and answer session. Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, I can show you, because I could show you Planet Labs, but then again, because this is a paid service, would you prefer if I show more how to use Copernicus rather than Planet Labs? Is there a preference?
Yes, please. Yeah, maybe start from the free one, and then
Yes.
for Indonesian audience, I think we are interested in looking at a hotspot, because
Okay.
fires and then forest has always been a topic here.
Yes. Yes. So first I'll show you satellite imagery. And actually I can show you, hold on, something. Is it here? So there are many places actually where you can look for hotspots. One, again, is this very one, for example, Worldview. If you look here, they've actually updated it so that it shows hotspots here. So again, there are two satellites that usually show hotspots. One is MODIS, so the instrument, sorry, MODIS in the satellite Terra, or you can use this one, which is the VIRS instrument in the NOAA 20. So that's there. So this again is what I was warning you about, because I mean, the joke is that it looks like the world is on fire, right? So at this, if you go here, for example, it shows hotspots. But then again, I'm showing a very old date. So if I go today, for example, or I go yesterday, so I show you hotspots there, for example. And this is what they call, again, fires and thermal anomalies. Again, thermal anomalies can be flares, can be fires, can be, well, as you all know, agricultural fires. So there. So you can use it. What I usually use it is, for example, for the Turkey wildfires, I just use it to spot places. So actually that I can show. Hold on, I had this ready and then I totally forgot. Turkey, right? So last year, again, there were, well, same as this year, we had wildfire seasons in Turkey. So the first thing we did is we asked the correspondents, like, where are the fires happening? And then we kind of mapped it using VIRS. So I'll show you here just because it's live, but sorry, I'm getting lost in screens. There. So this is August 2021, right? So let's look at Turkey in August 2021 here. So if I move here, sorry, what was the date again? So the date is 1st of August again. Okay, so if I go here, there, and then if I go to Turkey, here, there. So you could see at the moment, I remember this was the two areas that were concentrating on, were this area here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, and this area here, right? There. And this is, you can actually see the smoke coming from that side. So the quick way to map this was there. You get all these hotspots. So that is obviously that, again, because we know the area, there is a wildfire, you can see this, and then you can see this. And then if I remove this and just go with the natural, where is the, so I think if I add Sentinel here, although I'm not sure if it's available now, like at this point, because they added it last year. Let's see. Did that? No. But again, you can already see smoke. So what we did is we had, actually Turkish did use the hotspots because then you can animate these. And you can see how it evolves. So let's remove this and let's go back to the fires. So you could do mapping of the spread. And then here, for example, you can export there. So you could do this just to show the hotspots. And then we went to Planet Labs. In this case, we went to Planet Labs and then we downloaded Imagery. And then it looked like this, so that you can see this was actually quite dramatic.
Sorry, just one question. How
Yes.
would you differentiate the smoke that comes from wildfire and the smoke comes from agricultural fire? We might like accidentally,
Yes,
swap
I think
those things. Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not an expert in satellite imagery, but I'm a journalist. So I think one is always work with people on the ground. Because again, with the Amazon, for example, this is quite crucial because then usually when there are wildfires, the Bolsonaro government, they usually say, this is the normal agriculture, it happens every single year. Why are you making a fuss about this, right? Why are you talking about this? This is what happens everywhere in Latin America. So what we usually do is you contact the NGO, or then you can compare it to previous years, I guess, the same season. Is this normal? Is this, are there any anomalies? Because, for example, in Brazil, there is a difference between land cleared for livestock, for meat production, and there's agricultural fire just to renew agricultural. So I would say the first thing is just to, to check with organizations like Global Forest Watch, but also with like local NGOs to see whether the smoke is coming, where you're seeing smoke, what are you seeing? I would say. So again, this is because we were working with people on the ground with correspondents in Turkey. Although this is, this is a different story from the Amazon, because this was a wildfire that was going through forest. So that was kind of an obvious one, if that makes sense. But I guess in stories that, like the ones you cover, like palm oil, you really have to, investigate further. And I'm sure, Nia, I know you're the moderator, but maybe you can talk us through like how you went through verifying, I guess, what you were looking on satellites.
Yeah. Before I share, I would like to ask another question in this specific map, because you were talking about this. So when you've done like, okay, this is the wildfire smokes, then the next question would be, how would you differentiate those smoke with cloud? Maybe we kind of, misunderstood those things, but this is just for information for the journalists. So
yeah, I guess the other thing, clouds, it's even worse with floods and things like that, because I guess clouds always get on the way, right? So I know when you see this imagery from, let me see if I can find anything here. With floods, usually there are other type of imageries that you always look and say, yeah, it's definitely floods, and it's actually the way here, right? This. So this again, always be very careful about what you're looking at whether it's floods or whether it's cloud, because again, I'm going to sound like the silly journalist here, but usually when they send you satellite imagery, they go, at the beginning, I was like, no, send me real color. I want real color. I don't want, and they always send this infrared image. They also use all these observation instruments in satellites. And that is actually because, again, things like water on the ground, you can use other type of instruments. So I guess if you play with layers as well, rather than, it is very dramatic to see smoke, I know. But hotspots are actually the most accurate way to see whether there's a fire. Again, with the caveat that it could be hotspots coming from something else. So I'm guessing, again, the combination of layers kind of allows you to see whether it's clouds or whether it's smoke. We use this as well in this story. Where is it? Sorry. Where is the Chernobyl? Here. So this again was the forest fires that were happening near Chernobyl. And then again for
On
this,
April 4, farmers began to burn stubble as a cheap way to clear their fields, and the fires spread into the zone. Despite arresting one man for arson, the Ukrainian authorities failed to stop fires breaking out all over the exclusion zone. It got so bad, firefighters from towns across the country were called in.
So again, this again, in hindsight, is one of the things that you say, this succession of images didn't really tell a story, but they were quite adamant that we used the hotspots progression. But then again, this is because we knew kind of, so you can see the things that were happening on the ground, and then you can see what the map is showing. And what we wanted to show is that there were fires actually in the exclusion zone around Chernobyl. So they was using like layers and layers of information, so that we knew that this hotspot, for example, was actually showing fires, and that these weren't clouds, but these were smoke. Also, again, so it kind of out of subject, but a kind of on subject. When you're looking for images, you can actually use filters to, sorry, I don't know this one very, you can actually filter by cloud cover. So for example, on planet, you can do, again, you can do this. And then when you're looking for a particular day, you can actually filter, and you can go for days that have less cloud cover, which if you live, again, this is basic for Indonesia, and where I come from, Colombia, usually there's lots of cloud cover. So it will allow you to look for images that are actually clear. And then again, yeah. I was going to show you. So when I showed you this, for example, this can also be used. They're using all these images for drought, because currently there is no drought in the UK, but you can see that the fields are changing color. So again, this was one of these things that people are saying, oh, so are we looking, everything is yellow, is this drought? So you talk to experts, and then you can kind of compare this with the year before, so that you can see how the fields have changed color, things like that. Sorry. Yes. So is this what you were looking for, Nia, or anything else?
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, I think I second that. We need to also talk to people on the ground to know, like, to verify those things, verify whether the fires were real, and whether there was like maybe burned area in this specific area, or yeah, otherwise we would be jumping into conclusion or misconclude the fires or hotspots we had on the satellite image or other mapping source data. So okay, I would like to open this question and answer sessions to the audience here. If you have questions, please drop it on the chat column. Otherwise, you can always unmute yourself. Okay, if there is no questions yet, I would like to ask to you, Anna. So maybe lots of journalists are so confused, like where to go when we start with a satellite image. Like lots of providers as well have the high-res satellite image, but it's not for free. If you can mention the sources where to go first, and then if this doesn't have specific area of the satellite image that we're looking for, then we can go to this sources, and then we can go to the third sources. Maybe you can share.
Yeah.
Of the sources.
Yeah. So for high resolution image, this again, it's a wonderful resource. There's also USGS, which I use a lot, but it's a bit trickier to download things, right? There's Earth Explorer from the USGS. Hold on, I have to log in. you have to log in, but again, this is, you just register. You don't need just to sign up, and then, for example, they have this, and then they have data sets, right? So they have all these layers again. 2 satellites are Landsat 1, for example. Actually, they just launched Landsat 9, right, which has even more high resolution imagery, beautiful imagery. And then that's available. That's collection 1, level 1, right? Yeah. There. And then you can look for, so you can actually choose your data set. You can look by date. You can search here, for example. So I'm going to make a bit more of a range there. And then you can decide whether you use a map that you upload, or you can actually just say, use the map. I just want to look at this. And then it will show you all the satellite imagery, like right now, for example, not available. Sorry. Or you can look for Sentinel, for example, Sentinel-2. Okay. And then again, I might just make my range a bit bigger so that I can know that I can search for Sentinel-2. There. And this again, it's a bit trickier because it just shows you the tiles and then you can download. But there's one way of looking at it. The other is the one I was showing you, which is EU browser from the European Space Agency, from Sentinel. So again, this is where I'm staying in. I was just going to show you this. So for example, say there's drought and I want to look at the different colors of the fields in the UK. So very basic, right? So I'm here, right? And this is how the field is looking right now. It's very yellow, but I want to compare. So what I'll do is, so I've looked for July 27, so for the latest, that was yesterday. And then, sorry, this again, so I'll do this. So you just search for a place here, right? I just go Margate, UK, and then it will show me what's available. So I say visualize, and because it's a very clear day today, which is very odd in the UK, then you have the image there. So I want to, so you have all these, you have all these suggested layers if you want to look at things. For example, this is very good for deforestation because it shows, so again, look for expertise on this, but you have all these layers that you can use. But I'm just going to go for the easy, true color that just uses the red, green, and blue bands from all the satellite data. So I'll just add this here to compare, right? But then I want to look at last year so that I can compare. Also, one thing that sounds very obvious, but it's not. Look for like to like. So look for July 2021 and July 2022 because seasons change, so don't compare one year with another. Don't use Google Earth for these, although Google Earth, is wonderful for more like location maps, but don't use it because you're never sure where the date comes from, or it could be a mosaic. They usually do just like a mosaic. Sorry, this is Spanish in English. A mosaic of different images. So what you see is a collection of the best images they took, for example, in July. So don't use that if you're comparing things on the ground, because that might be misleading. So I am going to look for a day in July. There, that was easy. That will show how the area was looking in July 2021. And again, sorry. So I'm just going to compare. And I lost my previous one, right? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to not working because I had practiced this, but it's not working now, of course. So let's go now to July 2021. And then there, right. So again, this is not the most newsworthy example, but just to show you how you can use this, and you can use, I think it's with opacity here. Yeah, these are all the layers I've used there. So you can see how the landscape changed from one year to the other because we had a heat wave. So this is how England is looking from one year to the other. And again, if you could ask experts over ground whether this, you can consider this drought or whether this has affected any of the crops, but just a very quick way to visualize. And then this you can download. So once you've done the comparison yourself, then you can go again. I can visualize, and then I can download from here. So if you are doing just a very simple thing, you can do an image download with a JPEG or a PNG there, or you can download, is it here that you can, yes. So you can download the, what they call analytical bands, which are geolocated. So you have TIFFs, for example, that you can actually, when you put in QGIS, so if I were to drag this into QGIS, if I had things like boundaries and things, again, when I drag this, it's the same. Geolocated means that when you drag it into a GIS software, it will actually locate it where it should, so that you can plot other things, you can put layers, you can do, you can do, and actually QGIS, it can do very sophisticated analysis as well because it uses Python. So I'm not going to get into that, but yeah. So you're always looking for the high resolution geo-referenced. You can also, there is a way that you can look now, but then if you don't go for the true color, you can also download the ST2, which are heavier. So each band is like 1 giga. So I'm not going to do this here, but then it will be even more detailed satellite imagery. So that's like the free way to do this, right? Planet Labs. So if you do get into an agreement with Planet Labs, it's kind of the same, but obviously they have very, very, very high res imagery like this. Again, I don't think it's going to work because my connection isn't great, but when this renders, you have very detailed imagery. And then again, you just usually you just look for daily, then you can filter it. And then they have this very high resolution one that is SkySat. For example, we don't have an agreement with them to use this, but whenever news happens, you can go to their press department and say, could you get me the highest resolution imagery, from this area, these particular dates, and they will get it to you. You obviously have to credit them, but they're interested in news organizations using their material. So it should be that I'm not saying, but they usually give it to press organizations for free. Then there are the medium resolution, which you can download. And then they also have Sentinel-2 and Landsat-8, which are not as detailed, but that you can also use. And then when you download, it will give you several TIFFs. So like, I'm just going back to my example, for example, here. So it will look something like this, like several tiles like this. And again, when you drag them to QGIS, it will look like this. So you have this level of detail. There. And again, you can apply filters, so you can filter, as I was showing you. They've added lots more now. You can add, if you're looking for something with a bigger time scope, then you can decide on area coverage. I don't, like for Colombia, for example, this is quite tricky because then you usually just get one band because there are some areas that are better covered than others. Cloud covers, I was showing you, just try to make it as smaller as you can. And that's it. It will show you all the results and you can you can choose the one you want, and then you can just download the scene that you prefer, you order, and then you drag into QGIS, sorry. I don't know if I have any other examples that I can show you from what we've recently done.
And I think it's interesting to show the rainfall map because it's different.
Yeah.
Style of the map that you showed before.
Yeah. So the rainfall.
Yes.
If you bear with my files, there. So this is what I was talking to you about. This is a precipitation template that we prepared. This is wonderful. This is so this is the world map that we have at the BBC. Why do we have like a BBC map? Because we show more, there is a lot of editorial consensus about how to show this. This is, again, I won't bore you with a lot of this, but this is quite important for us. This is how we show disputed borders. So we've made this map, and then we kind of decided with the different languages what each area with disputed borders. For example, this is Egypt and Sudan, and then we added dotted borders, exactly. So the thing is that if we just download rainfall files like that, or we just show screenshots, then most of the time we would be violating our own editorial policy. So this is how we adapted to our own color palette, our own map, so that we follow map style and map editorial style, if that makes sense. So we have this layer prepared that all the journalists can download, which is the BBC World Map. When you go to the site that I showed you, the NOAA website, which is this one, there, right? You can download things from here. So there. So you can go as a guest. And then, I haven't done this in a bit, but I think this is the folder where you can get, the daily or daily historical. And it all looks like this, right? Is this zip? It's zip because it's a shape. So no, though this is a raster actually. So this is a raster file, which means that each pixel, so each bit of the map has a number, which shows you the precipitation level. So this is weird. So this is, because I've gone somewhere else. So this is, once you've downloaded, it looks like this. So it actually doesn't look like this. Let me see if I can find one that isn't styled. Or let me just drag one. Hold on, from the rainfall folder. Like this. So when you drag it, it just looks like this because it's not styled. But if I go and look at every single pixel there, like there, you can see that there's a value, right? So this is how we style things by value. So I go there, I download, and we have two layers. One is the NOAA, what have we done here? There, okay. So we styled it like that so that we actually know that where we're downloading is what we're seeing on the website. Again, just to double check that what we know, we are downloading exactly the same thing. So it looks like this. But again, we have a BBC style. We have designers that assign color things. There are things like color contrast that are very important for the BBC because we're an accessible public organization, so that people who have color blindness can actually distinguish between things. So we adapted it to our style, which is this, which is more like shades of blue rather than using red or green, which are terrible colors for color blindness. So what we did is we styled it. So when I say style, is you go on QGIS and then we go to, so this is where you can style each layer, or you can like alter the settings of each layer, if it makes sense. So you have your symbology here, which is exactly your styling. And then you choose single band pseudo color for renders. For rasters, you have different options. And then also we discussed the scale thoroughly because again, the jumps are quite similar. So we went for equal interval. But for example, for what I would call freak events or extreme events, we went Anything that is more than 500, we will shade in red, because this is rare, or this is the anomaly. And then we just applied. And then we had things like the resampling. I think we went for bilinear, so that it's easier to read and it's not like all pixelated. And there. So again, journalists can export these as PNGs so that they can use them as stories, or they can use SVGs so that designers can then add labels and scales. Very important to use scaling maps. So, you know, QGIS also allows you the chance to add a scale so that that designers, they can add it on, or you can add it on. Yeah, so this is quite it. So I think another recommendation would be to template everything, to be ready, so that you have your own map, and then you know that when you download, you know where to download your data, right? And you know, as Nia was saying, quite important, you know what it means, and you know what the scale is, and you know what it should be showing to show what you know, what is meant to be showing. So that when, for example, so when there is extreme rainfall somewhere, you're ready, and you can have a quick map. So yeah, my pet project that, I mean, it started when I required materials, is that having like ready-made maps so that you know what to use, where to use it, where to download it, where everything means, and just create, you know, a quick map for you know, for breaking news stories. I think I'm frozen, or sorry, am I?
Hello, Anna. Sorry, I think we lost you. Yeah, so thank you so much. That's really interesting presentation. And indeed, maps are nowadays no longer just a supplementary element for your stories, but the main headline can come from the map and the satellite images. And we have two questions here from one person. So you mentioned that Google Earth cannot be verified for its storm accuracy. Let me put this in context for day-to-day comparison. Then the question would be, what website would you recommend as a reference beside the NASA one? I think you've mentioned Planet and also the EO browser.
So I think when you're looking for free images, probably this one, Sentinel Hub, because then you have, so Google Earth takes a lot from Maxar, but they also use, you know, depending on the level of zoom. I don't know if you've seen, when you use Google Earth, it will show you the satellite imagery that they use. So as you zoom in or out, this is a perfect example, actually. You can see that at this level, they use the NASA, you know, you can use the NASA imagery that comes from the website that I showed you before, right? This one. But then as you go in, then they start using Landsat, for example, and Copernicus. So that means Sentinel-2 and Landsat-8 for this level. And this you can download for free from the EO browser. And then as you know, if you are doing an investigative report on things like buildings or illegal fishing or things like that, then I'm guessing you would go to organizations like Maxar, like they do. Airbus I've never used, but they also have very detailed imagery. And for Maxar, it's just a question of really contacting them and asking for what is it that you want to see. They also do, but again, this is depending on your story. If it's a public interest story, you can actually ask them to take images of a certain thing in the future, right? So you can go, could you please position your satellite at this point in time in this particular place? Again, they assess this on merit because they're a commercial organization, but it is worth approaching them. Or if you know something happened at some date, then you can approach them. And this is, so the level that, you know, when we see these beautifully detailed images from Google Earth, they usually come from Maxar Technologies, and Planet Labs also has this type of detailed imagery. So I would say that these are the three sources. Again, it's not I'm not saying don't use Google Earth. And obviously, I'm sure you've seen they have this wonderful historical imagery that goes from 1985, but also, be very aware of what you're using, because usually when they put December 31 or 1st of January, it's just that it's a placeholder, it's a placeholder date. It's not that it's from December, it's just that it's 1985. It does get more details here. So if you go there, for example, then actually this is a particular date. So that's July 24, 2013. So now you know. So if you know the date, I wouldn't, I would use it. But again, just be very careful, because you just always look at the imagery date and look, look that it's not like January 1st, December 3rd, because that means that's a point in time in 1985.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And a second question. Most of the data are in pictures or JPEG. Do you know like where can we find video data for those?
Video for like animations and things like that?
Yeah,
yes.
maybe animation. Yeah.
Animations, yes. Again, for this level, for example, they also give you an option, like, I can find it now, but they do give you an option to animate. Hold on. It's more like an animated GIF, right? Because it's like, I mean, the look is more choppy, because it actually, where is it? I think it is somewhere there, or I can put it in the document if I can find it like quickly. But you can actually download like an animation. I can't see it now, sorry. Take a snapshot. No, but there is a place here where you can actually set up the dates, and it would actually, I think, yeah, now I know where I can find it. You can like, the most obvious one, like hurricanes, for example, right? It is here, explore. Where is it? Is it Hurricane Maria? I think there, this, right? So this is Hurricane Maria. And I think if you play it, sorry, it is, and it does it. So you can do this, for example. So it's not like wonderful, but it is very useful for hurricanes. Then I think that's it. I mean, there's a lot that can be done with, you can animate, obviously you can animate static imagery, right? So we've done a lot, and I'm sure you've done it a lot, Mia, as well, with like satellite imagery, and then you compare things, and then you just do video. That's another way, because also you can, for the video team, for example, we provide a lot of vectors. So something like this, for example, then if people use After Effects, this can be downloaded as SVG, but even as a PDF, if you download it from them, they can actually animate things. So we, like in Mundo Brazil, they do lots of explainers, the usual. So we provide a lot of the vectors so that they can zoom in, zoom out. You can provide them with very detailed satellite imagery so that they can zoom in or out. So I guess those are the solutions I would look for video. I know there is apparently there's a wonderful extension called Geo Layers for After Effects, that it's a paid one, but it's like a one-off. You just buy the software, and apparently that allows you to export to import GeoJSONs, which is another like vector like this, type of files, and then it becomes a layer in After Effects. And apparently that from what I heard, I haven't used it myself, but it is wonderful for animated maps, if that helps. And it also incorporates, same as here, you can import XYZ tiles like this. So Bing, for example, which I love just because the sea, so, for example. So you can also incorporate it in After Effects, and you can do animations with it, and you can zoom in and out.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Anna. There is another question. So is it ethical, or there's even an app to comment or edit in terms of illustrating the real-time satellite data, and then to predict what will it be look like in the future in 5-year time, maybe like forecast, but from satellite imageries? If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, in what sense? Like, would it be like weather, or would it be like?
Well, in this case, I will invite the participant who asked these
Yes.
questions. Alfie, would you like to unmute yourself and ask Joanna directly to explain it?
Hi. Is my voice loud and clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I just want to ask about the before and after. If the case was like the dam site, and in Jakarta there's a Bantar Gebang dam site, that there will be that the expert and some
Scientists.
some scientists maybe will be predict that in 5 years later it will be like overfill, or anyway it will be not good, right? So how can I convince my editor, or how can I convince my fellow journalists that this is the real time data that we can combine? I mean, based on I already opened some of the site, and it looks like the satellites is a real-time satellites. So so the satellites not happening in the future, So is it okay, or is it ethical if I combine like a before after? Like this is the situations on Bantar Gebang site in 2022, and this is the situations on Bantar Gebang site in 2030 or 2045 maybe. Is it ethical to do that in satellites image? Thank you so much. Sorry, this is a silly questions.
No, that's very interesting. I just haven't come across, and I'm not sure if I'm understanding you correctly. I know we've used things like that for maybe this is what your coastal for climate change, right? For coastal floods, right? I think this is
maybe it's a coastal floods, or
it?
maybe like apa ya kalau di bahasa Indonesia, it's like erosions, land erosions,
Yes.
eruptions,
Like
maybe?
erosion,
Right?
or maybe
Yeah.
For
sea level
erosion.
rise
Yeah.
data. So I think I would like to explain a bit to Anna. So
help you guys.
I think Alfie is trying to make a forecast map, and then compare it forecast map, of course, from the scientists who are predicting one area in the north east Jakarta will be sinking because of this sea level rise, and then she would like to compare it with the previous satellite images that have shown the area itself. Like, would that be possible to compare two sort of different maps on one page? And would that be ethical? If any, like picture for example, an image, I don't think there is one, but the forecast map may be possible.
Yes, that is quite interesting. I think we've used exactly that before. And we use that, I think the Turkish service used it a bit, so that cities that are threatened, right? And this is the level of the sea would increase here, so the whole city of Izmir would be flooded. I don't think we consider an ethical challenge, but you're right in that maybe the level of realism might be an issue. So I'm guessing, but this is just me, this is not like the BBC point of view. Maybe in that case, you could do it very schematic or very diagram, so that it's not like your house here will flood. It's more like we're just depicting how it would look. I'm guessing that's the best, because I'm guessing we would all put all types of written disclaimers, right? So this is just a model, or this is just a prediction, or this is what the scientist says. But you're right in that maybe it should be a bit more schematic, exactly, so that it's not like you live in this area and then this will be flooded, but more like we're just trying to show you the impact in an area. So that's a quite interesting question, I think. And maybe there's a more like a design solution to that, rather than how journalists think is that we'll just write it up and then it's fine.
I know.
If I allow to add, what we have done with Jakarta sinking story was we were to BBC Indonesia and Visual East Asia journalism team, my team. We were showing the forecast map of the area that will be sinking.
Is there any way
And
that
but
you,
we're
you
not
guys,
like looking.
sorry, is there any way that you guys can share the link of your BBC
Of course,
articles,
Yeah.
or maybe Anna Lucia can share a link?
Yes. Is it
about
you mean the
your
Jakarta
different-
Jakarta sinking story, or anything you've done previously? Sorry to.
Anything that it would be looks like when it happened with the illustrations or forecast or something? Thank you.
Is that
Yeah.
what? Is that the one
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah.
So that you
Sure.
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go down, and there is one image showing the,
So there's
there you
this is
go.
one.
Yeah. This is just modeling map. So as Anna said, we can't really tell people your visiting in this one, because sometimes the reality doesn't match with the forecast. Even as I say that maybe the reality comes faster than the model itself. But what we can say is this is the forecast of the sinking area in certain amount of time, maybe 10 year times and everything. Yeah, we can also layer the forecast with a satellite image, real satellite image in probably the recent year, like 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks. Thanks so much.
But I think also it's and this is a challenge that I guess journalists in the field uses, is that everything has to be in context, right? And we have a lot. I mean, I also wonder with this satellite imagery that we use, for example, in social media posts, right? So because we have to explain what this is showing, what this has been meant to portray in a way that is friendly, it's not technical, but we still have to give all the caveats, right? And this applies to all maps, and especially satellite imagery. So yeah, thank you, because that's a very good consideration.
Okay, do we have more questions from anyone? If no question, then maybe I can ask Anna to conclude and maybe give one message to the journalists who would like to learn more about map. How do we start and where do we go? Please.
Yes. So I'm going to share this with Mia then, so that this just has all the the examples that I've shown with links, but also I have these Python guides. So things like, for example, NASA has a guide on how to interpret satellite imagery. So it's the kind of what you were talking about, Mia. And then inspiration, or how to make, this is because I like how to make a true color Landsat image. So there's things here that I can add to. But I think one is just to be curious again, and be curious about where you live, because again, we all have interest in knowing where you live. So again, like I had a month when I devoted myself to elevation, for example, because I come from the mountains, so, and how it affects things, and then what type of data can I get, and what have other media organizations done. You have this, I know these are the usual, but you have the Washington Post, the New York Times. They've done all these wonderful maps, and then maybe you can just kind of deconstruct them and see from the source. You can see, okay, so they've used this source, for example. So how do I get to this source? Maybe it's a NASA file, maybe it's, and then just start playing, because with programs like QGIS, again, I gave you the silliest example, but with South America, I just learned a lot about where to get things and how do I plot them, and what if I combine it with Google Earth, and what happens. So I think that's the best way technically to learn. Rainfall was also like, we just started looking for sources everywhere, and we found this, and then it was like, let's make sense of this. And then again, that's not one expert, but because I keep saying to you, look for an expert. But for example, this was very quick. We couldn't really get an expert on the ground, but then we saw that the Washington Post had done something on rainfall. So we said, okay, so they use this scale. So maybe this is the best scale. What other media organizations, because you always get these technical questions. What does millimeters mean? What does 1 day precipitation mean? What does 7 day precipitation mean? So it's just the usual journalist thing of be very curious, but also be ready, because again, the problem, and we all work in these news organizations, that they go, there's floods there, get me something. And you think, you know, I can't, and I can't know whether what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing. So
I often got that.
yes,
We
and then
were
the
not
flood-
ready and prepared, and we, you know, like being messy. Everything.
yes, and I don't think, I mean, again, what I show you with Ukraine now that it's a year later, I'm saying, "Ugh, you know, maybe we should have depicted this way." So you keep on learning. And like Twitter, again, it's also that Twitter, again, I've shown you this example, but also follow people. I have lists, for example. And again, I'm more into cartography, but like this, so that you know, so that get to know people, and then they post things, and then you go, so you know, maybe I could do a map like that. There, for example. So if you see, then always kind of make it your goal, just to learn about things. And then, as I said, and talk to experts. I know I have another colleague who followed a smoke plume, like a smoke trail from Australia. And I remember she went to NASA, and again, she said, like, what do you have on smoke? And they have these very complex files called NetDCF, exactly. So she downloaded all these. Also teach yourselves. Nia knows this, and Nia is quite active on this. We have all sorts of tutorials for everything for journalists. We do lots of Dropbox papers. Nia has actually done a lot. They say, you learn something, put it on a paper for you, because you'll forget. You know,
Sometimes we forget, and then we need to get back to it.
Yeah, so as you can see from some of the things I've shown, it's like, where was that button? Where could you download? So put everything on guides, but also, you know, teach your colleagues, you know, and then if you work with developers, I've also, you know, realized that they can do all sorts of things. They use Python, for example. We have colleagues in Delhi actually that use Python to download. There was one who her thesis, you know, her master's degrees, you know, her dissertation, sorry, was about how to show sea temperatures using, and how to download using Python. So you never know, you know, that you're surrounded by knowledgeable people, so make the most of that. I guess that's my last tip.
Thank you so much. That is very important and interesting tip. Anyway, we had the NetCDF session this morning with Peter Aldous. You may have come across, with his name. He's very popular, and he is very smart guy of the newsroom, who works with the NetCDF data a lot. And people who have not attended the session of Peter Aldous, who was talking about the NetCDF, you can also go to DCJ YouTube channel. We have had him live streamed this morning. Okay, Anna, thank you so much for your experience and amazing insight to Indonesian journalists here. And I will end this session here. And for those participants, we still have a lot of sessions tomorrow. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Talk later. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.